Hello and welcome. I'm Asima Katauka and you are watching NewsX World. Let's take a look at some of the top stories. Reports show that US President Donald Trump interrupted the meeting with European leaders to hold a call with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The meeting took place 3 days after their Alaska summit, and White House has said a possible trilateral meeting with President Putin and President Zelenskyy may also be discussed. Meanwhile, President Zelenskyy has thanked White House for trying to mediate between Russia and Ukraine. US President Donald Trump, alongside Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy at the White House, rejected the need for an urgent ceasefire in the Russia-Ukraine war. Hamas has agreed to a new ceasefire proposal in Gaza after 22 months of war with Israel, accepting the terms without amendments. Mediators have proposed a 60-day truce and a hostage release in 2 batches as part of the agreement, while Israel has announced new plans of shelling the enclave. Taiwan's foreign minister has declared it must rely on its own defense capabilities for security after US President Donald Trump has said Xi Jinping has promised not to invade while he is in office. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Xiao Guangwei has stressed Taiwan's commitment to strengthening self-defense. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has stated that the US-South Korea joint military drills are a war provocation, then called for a rapid expansion of his country's nuclear arsenal. The drills launched this week by Seoul and Washington include enhanced responses to heightened North Korean nuclear threats ahead of a South Korea-US summit. Air Canada and the Canadian Union of Public Employees, representing 10,000 flight attendants, resumed talks with mediator William Kaplan after a strike that was declared unlawful by the Canada Industrial Relations Board. Jobs Minister Patty Hajdu vowed to investigate unpaid work allegations as the strike entered its 4th day. A magnitude 5.2 earthquake has struck Afghanistan's Hindu Kush region. According to the German Research Center for Geosciences, the quake occurred at a depth of 186 kilometers as per the reports. Wildfires have destroyed over 450,000 hectares across Spain and Portugal, with 6 dead, including 2 firefighters, as officials battled 23 major blazes threatening communities. France, Italy, Slovakia, the Netherlands, Sweden, and Morocco have all sent air support, but heat waves, drought, and intense smoke are making firefighting operations extremely difficult. Russia's Deputy UN Ambassador Dmitry Polyansky has said yesterday that he hoped US President Donald Trump's meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy would open the door to a long and lasting peace. Speaking at UN headquarters, Polyansky pointed to President Trump's recent summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska, saying it had opened an opportunity for future negotiations. He added that Moscow welcomed a scenario in which Kyiv prioritizes peace over what he described as saving their own skin. Let's listen into what Russia's Deputy UN Ambassador Dmitry Polyansky had to say.
Not our meeting, as you know. Our meeting has taken place quite recently and was in the center of world's attention, so it's a bilateral matter, of course, first and foremost between US and other countries. But what everybody hopes from this meeting is that it will go in the same vein as a meeting with Russia, which, as President Trump himself acknowledged, open an opportunity for a long and lasting peace. And we welcome very much such a scenario. We hope that Ukrainian leadership will, instead of thinking about saving their own skin, think about their people who don't want to fight and who are ready for peace, fair, just, and long-lasting peace. That's what Russia is trying to achieve in Ukraine for many, many years.
The remarks came as Trump pledged U.S. and European security guarantees for Ukraine during talks with Zelenskyy and European leaders at the White House. Now, for this discussion, we are joined by Gautam Mukherjee. He's a senior reporter at New Delhi. Thank you, Gautam Mukherjee, for joining us today. Welcome to NewsX World. Do you think this things that are happening now between Russia, and we saw the statement just come in, do you think that this is indicating a shift in Russia's diplomatic strategy, or is it more about managing public perception?
Well, I think the war is coming to an end with the Donbas region going to Russia, and Ukraine more or less agreed to this because it has a lot of pressure from both NATO, the European allies, and the US. Now, once this is settled, and in fact, this is a foregone conclusion by the time Zelenskyy arrived in Washington, and so he is more interested in the security guarantees going forward rather than trying to say, I want my territory back, because that is not possible. Similarly, joining NATO is not possible. Security guarantees from the EU and from the US are going to be negotiated, and they will probably be forthcoming, I think, without placing troops inside Ukraine. That means the allies who will guarantee Ukraine's security will come to its aid should it be attacked by Russia at any future time, without placing troops on a prolonged basis, or indeed even right now, because it is a time for demilitarization. The Russians will go way back to their peacetime positions, and likewise the Ukrainian troops, and they will remove all the debris of war and get on with the next phase of the proceedings, which is peace.
Thank you, Gautam Mukherjee, for sharing that. I would like to take another guest, Yulia Klimenko. He is a Ukrainian MP joining us live from Kyiv. Yulia, I don't know if you heard our other guest, Gautam Mukherjee's answer, but what is your take on it? What do you think? Is this a shift in Russia's stance by hearing UN Russian ministers' comments?
Hello, from Ukraine. Yes, I've heard your previous speakers, and I can tell you that's very naive, I would say, thoughts. I think we are on our way to peace, but it's still a lot to do, because there is no clear practical action plan, which includes security guarantees, financial guarantees to rebuild Ukraine, as well as a justice who will be punished for the all war crimes made by Russians on Ukrainian soil, rapes kids, killing women, kill civilians. So we would like to have, as Ukrainians, we would like to have answers for these questions first, and then you can conclude if we are going to the peace or not. I mean, devil in details, and Russians are playing with details in a very manipulative way. So I think it's a good start, but it's just a start. It could take some period of time to understand what is the practical solutions for all these issues I just mentioned.
Thank you, Yulia, for sharing that. Please, Gautam Mukherjee and Yulia Klimenko, please stay with us as we stay on this topic now. According to reports, Ukrainian Air Force says Russia has launched 270 drones and 10 missiles overnight in one of the largest attacks in recent weeks. Regional officials report infrastructure damage and power cuts in Chernihiv, while in Poltava's Kremenchuk, the mayor said that a wave of explosions shows President Putin does not want peace. Russia, meanwhile, claims its air defense destroyed 23 Ukrainian drones overnight. The strike comes as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy arrived in Washington on Monday for high-stakes talks at the White House. U.S. President Donald Trump has said he's working to arrange a bilateral peace meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and President Zelenskyy. Meanwhile, the death toll from last week's factory explosion in the Ryazan region, Russia, has risen to 25 people. Officials say at least 158 people are injured as crews continue clearing debris and investigating the cause. Now, for this discussion, we're joined by Yulia Klimenko. She's a Ukrainian MP. Thank you, Yulia, for staying with us. With both sides still attacking and but while negotiating peace, is there any effect of these attacks from both sides on peace negotiation that's ongoing?
I don't think there is any major effects. We are in a state of war for more than 3.5 years, almost 4 years. So this is the war. Yes, we are attacking Russian military targets, and Russians attacking, unfortunately, not Ukrainian military targets, but mostly civilians, residential buildings, hospitals, schools, etc. So this is war. It's going on. It has its own, so to say, path. Before, as I said, we have a clear practical plan of the peace. I don't think all this everyday war life will change somehow, unfortunately.
And with President Trump's pledge for security guarantees for Ukraine, how might this affect the balance of power in negotiations between Kyiv and Moscow?
We have a very general understanding of these security guarantees. So before answering this question, you have to understand if you have your European soldiers, boots on the ground in Ukraine, in the front line, not sitting in the camps in the Western Ukraine where it's very safe and you don't need them actually there. So, and what kind of weapon we will get, who will pay for this weapon, etc., etc. So this is very general talks now about the security guarantees. So we want to understand more clear what will be the security guarantees for what period and what is actually the size of these security guarantees.
And Yulia, now with intensifying attacks from Russia, could these escalation be a calculated move by Russia to gain leverage ahead of any potential negotiations? What's your take?
Yeah, yes, I think it is. They are doing it every time we have negotiations between Ukrainian and Russian delegations, as we had it before. And we have it on ongoing, so to say, basis. Yes, they are doing it every time before any kind of negotiations. I think their strategy, they try to take more land, more pressure on Ukrainian society, more moral and physical damage.
Thank you very much, Yulia Klimenko, for joining us and sharing your insight as a Ukrainian MP. Thank you very much. Now we move on. The United Nations Security Council has opened debate on the future of its peacekeeping force in Lebanon. A French-drafted resolution seeks to extend the mandate of UNIFIL by 1 year, but with the long-term goal of withdrawing the force. UNIFIL has patrolled the Lebanon-Israel border since 1978. The draft calls for Lebanon's army to eventually take full responsibility for security in the south, alongside a comprehensive political settlement. The United States and Israel have signaled opposition to renewing the mandate, raising questions about whether Washington will support the text. A U.S. State Department spokesperson declined to comment on the ongoing negotiations. The talks follow a truce that ended fighting between Israel and Hezbollah. Beirut has begun deploying its army in the south and drafting a plan to disarm Hezbollah, though the group has resisted. Israel, meanwhile, has not fully withdrawn its forces and continues to carry out strikes in Lebanon. A vote is expected on August 25th, days before UNIFIL's mandate expires at the end of this month. Now for this discussion, we go to Ali Mohammed M. Bushbak. He's an independent Palestinian researcher, joins us live from Cairo. Thank you, Ali, for joining us. Good to see you. Do you think that Lebanon will withstand if Hezbollah doesn't retreat, Israel doesn't retreat, and now UNIFIL might retreat? What will happen?
Thank you so much for having me. The things this draft have been submitted by France to extend the UNIFIL in Lebanon for next year. Things is if UNIFIL is going to withdraw, especially at this time, at this moment, it will create a security vacuum in South Lebanon. Especially Hezbollah is not going to lie its weapon and it's not going to disarm the disarmed. We have witnessed and we saw the speech of Qasem, the supreme leader of Hezbollah, on Friday, and he was warning the government. Despite before that, he said before this speech, he said he's under the order of the government to lie their weapon and to accept the deal and accept the ceasefire with Israel after killing the supreme leader Hassan Nasrallah. So the things is very complicated, and there is a several of a crisis in Lebanon, especially Hezbollah, and also the Lebanon army is not empowered in south part of Lebanon. So that's giving a more potentially for, according to several of observers, they consider the Lebanon it's in the brink of the civil war. That's make it a more terrible idea, especially if the UNIFIL it's going to withdraw. That will keep the border between Lebanon and Israel. It's vulnerable, which means Israel may take this opportunity to reoccupy the south part of Lebanon. Despite there is an agreement like that in December 2024 between Hezbollah and Israel for a fragile truce, because in every time we hear that Israel conducted airstrike against Hezbollah leaders and assassinated some Hezbollah leader. So since 2006, after the war between Hezbollah and Israel, UNIFIL have been empowered by United Nations and for the peacekeeper and saver. So the things nowadays we are witnessing that Hezbollah in deep crisis, amount of the what is Lebanon is suffering from, like a security crisis in Lebanon, as well as the fighting between Hezbollah and the army, even between the government. There is a several crisis around Lebanon itself. Also, that everyday life in Lebanon is very terrible because of they have a power crisis. Also, they have an economical crisis. So the withdrawal, it has a significant meaning for the Lebanons and for the Lebanese who's living in south part of Lebanon, which means that the country it's going in the brink of the civil war. So that's it. France submitted this proposal or this draft to extend the UNIFIL's duty and deployment in Lebanon for next year.
And what do you think is the role of United States, and why do you think the United States is now opposing the renewal of UNIFIL mandate in Lebanon?
Definitely, United States is taking the stand with Israel, and they are going to support the Virgin of Israel. So, and we have seen that Benjamin Netanyahu, he was talking about the greater Israel. That means Israel, it will extend from its border to Lebanon and to Jordan and some part of Egypt and some part, and occupying all the Palestinian land. So I guess Benjamin Netanyahu, this is his dream, and deeply he got deeply criticized by Israeli media and the international community about the greater Israel. So the thing is, United States is supporting the version of Israel. What is Benjamin Netanyahu he will, and that Israel, United States is going to do whatever Benjamin Netanyahu he will, and he won. But I guess in Lebanon, the significant actor is France, especially because Lebanon it was under the colonial of France. So and also most of this is the common language in Lebanon is France, a part of Arabic language. So the significant actor in Lebanon is France. So I guess that's it. France taking the stand to extend the UNIFIL and to maintain the stability in the country and the region, and to doesn't accept the security vacuum in South Lebanon, and it's not giving that the Israel opportunity to invade the South Lebanon.
Thank you very much, Aliema Bushbach, for joining us and sharing your insight from Middle East. Thank you very much. Now we move on to North America. Air Canada and its union representing 10,000 flight attendants are holding talks in Toronto on Monday night with mediator William Kaplan, a source has confirmed. The Canadian Union of Public Employees has launched a strike on Saturday after contract talks collapsed, despite Canada's Industrial Relations Board ruling out the walkout unlawful. The action has disrupted travel for hundreds of thousands of passengers. Let's listen into what the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney had to say.
It is disappointing that those negotiations did not come to an agreement, and it was the judgment of both the union and the company that they were at an impasse. That's not my judgment, it's their judgment. And so we are in a situation where literally hundreds of thousands of Canadians and visitors to our country are being disrupted by this action. I urge both parties to resolve this as quickly as possible.
Canadian Jobs Minister Patty Hajdu urged both sides to reach a deal quickly and said she has ordered a probe into allegations of unpaid work in the airline sector. Air Canada's CEO warned the strike is harming our customers, while the union maintains the stoppage is necessary to secure fair conditions. This is what the CEO of Air Canada and National President of the Canadian Union of Public Employees, Mark Hancock, has said.
We are harming our customers, and over 500,000 to date, and every day we add more customers to that to the list that are people that have been disrupted, lost vacations, special events, business meetings. We obviously move a lot of cargo as well, which is impacting the economy. So this is having a significant impact on normal people that want to enjoy the summer. Well, we're taking this day by day, and also we want to start as soon as possible, but we need the flight attendants to show up, and we need the union leaders to tell them to show up to work, because to date they told them not to show up to work. And so we'll continue to go down some different channels. Obviously, getting the CIRB last night at 3 o'clock in the morning, getting their decision was important, and we'll continue to look at we possibly can to start flying again and stop the disruption of our customers.
There's no limit. We're going to stay strong. We're going to stay committed to making sure that those workers can do the job that they love doing and actually be able to afford a roof over their heads, to afford caring for their families. And if it means folks like me going to jail, then so be it. If it means our union being fined, then so be it. We're looking for a solution here. Our members want a solution here, but that solution has to be found at a bargaining table.
Now we move on to Asia. In response to U.S. President Donald Trump's comments about China's stance on Taiwan, Taiwan's foreign ministry has emphasized the need for the island to rely on its own security efforts. Let's listen into what Taiwan's foreign ministry spokesperson Xiao Kuangwei has said.
外交部一直密切关注美中的高层互动， 也将持续和在印太地区具重大利益的国家，共同致力维护台海的和平、稳定以及繁荣。另外，台湾的安全必须要靠自己努力得来，所以我国也一直持续致力提升自我防卫的能力以及韧性，而我国也会持续的积极努力去做。
President Trump recently claimed that Chinese President Xi Jinping assured him that China would not invade Taiwan while he was in the office. Meanwhile, Taiwan continues to reject China's sovereignty claims, with Beijing asserting the island as part of its territory. Now, for this discussion, we are joined by Major General retired Gigi Dwivedi. He's a defense expert, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you, Major General, for joining us today. Good to see you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you think that this dialogue by President Trump further complicates potential dialogue or reconciliation efforts between Taiwan and China?
Oh, well, definitely, Suma. It's very important to understand as to what is American stated policy on Taiwan. There are a couple of very stated principles or stated stand which America has. First and foremost, America has recognized that there is only one China, and therefore they do not recognize an independent Taiwan state. Second is they have a strategic ambiguity as to what will be their stand in case there is a threat to Taiwan, either direct or indirect threat. And the third point is that despite all this, America has continued to supply arms to Taiwan, and they also have unwritten understanding, but that is again, as I said, ambiguous. Now, the latest statement of President Trump, in which he states that Xi Jinping has assured him that during his tenure, China will not attack Taiwan. Now, that's a very worrisome, because that means that after the tenure, China could exercise a military option, and that is again Chinese stated stand that they would ensure integration of Taiwan with mainland, but in case it doesn't work out in a peaceful manner, then the military force is an option, and that is the Chinese stated stand. And as far as Taiwan is concerned, I think in all these complexities, the ambiguities, Taiwan has to prepare for their own defense, because there's so much of uncertainty on the stand of America and the allies. So I think what the spokesperson of Taiwan has rightly stated, that the nation has to cater for their own security, and it's not that though Taiwan may not be as powerful as China, there is a state asymmetry, but that doesn't mean that the nations, the Taiwan cannot defend itself. So all I can say is that situation as regarding Taiwan is complex. There is an ambiguity in the American stance. Xi Jinping has declared both in the white paper that integration of Taiwan is a topmost priority, and in case it doesn't work out through peaceful means, then force remains an option. And as far as Taiwan is concerned, I think they need to prepare for their own defense, because at the end of the day, you cannot outsource your own security. Asuma.
Yes, Major General Gigi Dwivedi. And do you think that, like you said, that President Trump probably knows something that is not public yet, and his timing of suggesting this kind of statement suggests that otherwise? So do you think that this timing suggests that U.S. is going to retrieve slowly from supporting Taiwan? What is U.S.'s statement suggest about U.S.'s stance?
Well, as I said, the U.S. stand on Taiwan is ambiguous, because there is unwritten understanding that they could come in support of Taiwan in case there is a threat, but it is not stated publicly, or it is not in the public domain. But the statement of President Trump that Chinese will not attack Taiwan till his tenure, that means till about 2027, 28. Now, that is very worrisome, because that shows that the Americans may or may not help out Taiwan in such a contingency. Now, that's a very ambiguous situation. And that's what the Americans have maintained, that is the strategic ambiguity. They have not declared what exactly would be their intent. So it's very difficult to fathom out as to what President Trump has tried to convey. But definitely there are chances that in case a situation develops where Taiwan is under threat, will America come or will America not come is a big question mark. And therefore, I think Taiwan has no option but to prepare itself, because at the end of the day, as I said, the security of every nation is its own prerogative, and you cannot outsource your security to someone else, because that means that you are very vulnerable and that help may not come, and therefore you may be caught off guard. And I think Taiwan would make effort to prepare itself so that in any contingency, when there is no external support, it will have to fend for itself. But the strategic ambiguity on Taiwan remains, and how Trump is going to mend its relation with China, with Russia. Will Taiwan be the price that the Taiwanese will have to pay?
Yes.
Is not yet to be seen. But all I can say is that ambiguity means no clear statement, and yes, America could actually wean away from this situation and not come directly, but that is a big question mark. Asuma.
Yes. Thank you very much, Major General J.G. Trivedi, for joining us and sharing your insight on this sensitive topic. Thank you very much. This is all we have time for. We will continue to bring you more news updates from around the world.